with the voice of Miami Beach, where you get to hear the latest about arts, entertainment, law, and politics. And speaking of politics, my guest for today's show is my good friend, a current Miami Beach City Commissioner and candidate for mayor, Kristen Rosen Gonzalez. Welcome, Kristen.
Good morning, Michael. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
I'm excited to have you, Kristen. And I feel like I know you so well, but for people watching this, I want to get into who is Kristen. So as I understand it, you are a Miami-Dade native, and you actually grew up with your father working for the city of Miami Beach.
That was actually my stepfather. My father was much older when I was born, but my mother did remarry an assistant city manager of Miami Beach. My parents actually met in the Fontainebleau. My father picked up my much younger mother in the lobby of the Fontainebleau, and I was the product of that relationship. And so I grew up in Sunny Isles. I went to Bay Harbor Elementary, and it's so funny in Miami Beach right now when you see the owner of Blackbird Ordinary, and what's the name of his spot on Miami Beach? Danny Binkowitz, who owns... I can't remember the name of it, but he owns several bars in Miami Beach now. So it's really interesting to see the people that you went to elementary school with, and then, you know, you see them later on in life.
Dan Binkowitz.
Yes.
Yes.
Miss Liberty. Miss
Yes.
Liberty.
Sweet
Liberty.
We'll
Oh my
eventually.
gosh, we got it. Oh, goodness.
Okay, so
We should start over.
You want to start over?
Yes.
Okay, scrap. Let's start.
You want me to stop recording right here?
With the voice of Miami Beach, where you get to hear the latest about arts, entertainment, law, and politics impacting our community. And speaking of politics, I'm excited. Today, our guest is a good friend of mine, a Miami Beach City Commissioner and a candidate for Miami Beach Mayor in this November's election, Kristen Rosen Gonzalez. Welcome, Kristen.
Hey, it's great to be here with you today. I always thought that you should have your own podcast because you're so good at it. We've been doing TV for a long time together now, haven't we?
We have. I took you to your first Latin show, I think, back in the day.
Buenos dias, Miami.
Yay. And it's Buenos dias, Miami. One of the things I wanted to do today is we're always talking about topics. So I really wanted to get into who is Kristen. And I understand that you are like a product of Miami Beach, parents that met in Miami Beach, a stepfather that worked for the city of Miami Beach. Tell us a little bit about you and growing up here.
Yeah, it's a long history with Miami Beach. And you don't actually go back and look at your own history until the first time when I was running for office in 2015. I had to say, you know, who am I? And I realized my parents met at the Fontainebleau. My mother then remarried the assistant city manager of the city of Miami Beach. So I have a long-standing history. I went to Bay Harbor Elementary with many residents who still live in Miami Beach, like Dan Binkowitz of Sweet Liberty. So I see him and I'm like, hey, Danny. And he's like, no, my name's Dan now. So it's been a long time. I remember growing up here and it was really wonderful. Did you know in that movie All About Mary where there's the woman with like the long cigarette? My babysitter was this woman and her name was Betty Greenberg. And she used to have like a long cigarette and she was almost black from like sitting out at the pool, and she had like pink frosted lipstick. I used to run around the card room, and every single day I just remember being at the pool. I was like a little fish.
Wow, that's beautiful. So you grew up here, you stayed here, you have 3 children, all born here?
Well, I actually went to school at Tufts University, so I did leave to go to Boston for 4 years. But it was shocking to leave South Florida and go someplace cold. When I was my first winter, when it got dark at 4 p.m., it was like, where am I? So we're really lucky. We don't realize that. And that's why so many people move to South Florida. But yes, I am here now. I've owned several restaurants here. I don't know if you know Cafe Ragazzi at 95th and Harding. We owned that for a while. And then more recently, Cafe Bernie at 5600 Collins Avenue. So I've been in the community for a very long time.
And I got to know you around 2013 when you were thinking about running for office before your eventual first victorious run in 2015 when you were elected against the political establishment. And you came to meet me and get my help, and we really hit it off. What made you decide to run for office initially?
Well, I became a professor at Miami-Dade College. And when I was working at the college, the union approached me and they said, would you be on our legislative advocacy team? And we went to Tallahassee and I was meeting all these legislators and I was fascinated by the entire political process. And also, I didn't like what I was seeing in Tallahassee because we visited all these lobbyists and they were like, sure, we're going to listen to you. And then they all voted against us and they reduced our pension benefits and they reduced the, several different benefits that we had. And I couldn't believe how unfair the system was because it was a little bit skewed. I think you need to have two parties in every system because if you only have one party making all the decisions, I think not really.
Yeah, it's not balanced.
Not fair.
And I agree
not
that
balanced.
Florida seems to be, at least, to be out of balance right now. And I think the commission was out of balance the year you ran. There was a mayor kind of controlling a slate of candidates, and you really came in and scrapped it out, and you came out of that race victorious. Like at that time, I think that people saw you like a real fighter against the establishment. How did you feel?
I was burned to a crisp. I was in that neon yellow t-shirt waving at everybody on the bridge. And I just felt like a real representative of the people because you're right. I didn't have any money in my campaign. I didn't have any establishment help. And I think, I was joining this movement called Save Ocean Terrace because they wanted to build these large buildings on Ocean Terrace, which now eventually, even after the referenda, are going to be built. But at the time, it was a real victory, I believe, for the residents of Miami Beach because they did want an independent voice, and that was me.
And you've remained independent. You've really taken a lone stance against a lot of development items during your tenure. I remember shortly after your election, you became the only member of the commission really against a proposed convention center hotel at that time that was being built by a different developer than the one today. How did that come about?
Well, they were building a huge, tall building. In retrospect, though, all of these different iterations of everything that we could have done, looking back on some of it, I think that at the time, we were very NIMBY in the sense that, like, we're not going to compromise. We're just going to vote no. But what happened? It delayed over time. It cost a lot of money. Now we're finally getting the convention center hotel. I would say that probably because of Mayor Levine, we're not getting the best project. I think the best project for the convention center was when you were there and it was Tishman and Portman.
Completely. I was talking about that with my friend Josh Wallach. He always brings it up. We had such a good plan for the convention center being built by a world-renowned architect for a lot less money. We would have had a much more interesting project, but that's politics. A new team comes in. They want to erase the past, take credit for all the good, blame the old people for all the bad.
Well, people don't want traffic in Miami Beach. People complain. The biggest complaint that I get as I'm campaigning right now is traffic.
And Me too. I text you all the time in front of my house. I can't deal with the Collins Avenue traffic.
Well, it's very hard. Every single one of our streets is an at F failure, and we have no room to expand. Although we're looking into the water taxi now. We're building that water taxi prototype, and we're going to heavily subsidize it. We got a subsidy from the state of Florida. I think that once we get it working, City of Miami might join in, as well as Miami-Dade County. And what we really want to start to do is use our waterways. But the problem is that people in South Florida use their cars. It's going to be a big change. But imagine if you could get on a water taxi in the back of the condominium, for example, where you live right now in the Indian Creek Waterway. If we had electric water taxis going up and down, you might consider it, right?
I might. I actually think water taxis work better inner city than as a means of connectivity between Miami and Miami Beach. Because it's a long ride, it's hot in the summers, it's rainy in other months, and it makes it very iffy for that form of transportation here. I would like it. I always joke that I'm going to get a jet ski. I live on Collins Avenue on the canal, so my mid-beach residents know what I'm talking about. We are prisoners sometimes during rush hour. And I always think if I could get on a jet ski and leave off the back of the building, I could get where I'm going like that.
We have no choice but to explore our waterways. And we do have a lot of development coming. There's all new towers and hotels along the Billionaire Beach, which is really exciting, but it's going to bring a lot of traffic. We're getting the Convention Center Hotel, which is an additional 800 rooms. So as we build all of these buildings, everybody says, oh, you're going to have less traffic. And that's not true. And you really are going to be stuck between 41st and 71st because between the development in North Bay Village, which represents something like 20,000 new units, and Town Center, which might be an additional 5,000 to 7,000 units, where are the cars going to go? Because people are getting deliveries, even if they don't have a car. They're still getting Amazon deliveries and Uber Eats, and their building employees are going to be driving there. So It's going to get tough.
It is tough. And I'm a condominium lawyer, so I drive all over the county. Although we complain about it in Miami Beach because we live there, but let me tell you, it's a problem in Brickell. It's a problem driving out west. It's a problem in Edgewater. It's really a problem throughout South Florida that all elected people really need to focus on when you're approving development. Please keep in mind infrastructure.
Yeah, but then people don't want mass transit. People did not want a train coming across 5th Street. I'd love to have it come across 41st Street, but now I'm not even sure if that's going to happen. I don't even know if the federal funding exists for these large infrastructure projects, but we really should have a train from Miami Beach that takes you to the airport. It's ridiculous that we don't. That will be the defining measure of the United States, I think, moving forward. It's not just Miami Beach. I think we're lacking in transit across the United States.
I agree. It's great when you travel to Europe, how easy it is to take the train and get around.
If I go to London or Paris, I have no problem taking the train. But then I go to New York City and I don't. But I just heard that there is a new train, I believe, to the airport that some people are taking.
Yeah, I don't take it to the airport. I take the subway inner city, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the ride to the airport. One of the perceptions I get from all my friends that are around Coral Gables, City of Miami, they're like, we don't come to Miami Beach anymore for a couple of reasons. One, the perception that there's a lot of traffic, and B, the perception that parking is difficult and expensive. What do we do to help those businesses, especially on South Beach, that tell us they're losing business because people feel they can't go there and park?
Well, right now we have $1 parking in the months of July and August. We're calling it summer vacation parking because we really do want people to come back to the beach. And I agree with you. Parking is tough. And I've tried to get $5 parking like you have in the design district, which is subsidized, or even the city of Coral Gables. Can't you park anywhere for $5? It works so well. But in Miami Beach, I've gotten a lot of pushback because our city valet vendors are $25 and they're not willing to lower this price. So that will be one of my initiatives as mayor, sitting down with the valets and saying, look, we're going to have to offer inexpensive parking. And, if the city has to subsidize it, we will. But I want people to come to Washington Avenue, Ocean Drive, Collins Avenue. We do have some really cool stuff opening too.
I think that's great. Actually, I saw you recently. A new restaurant opened at the former Mezzanotte space for us old timers where we used to dance on the tables in the 90s.
Yeah.
We have Wanderlust. I really want to go back for their brunch. I'm thinking about going soon. What do you think of that?
I'll go with you. I love it. I'm so excited. If you would have seen the place that was there before, it was like so sketchy looking. I would walk past and think like something is bad is happening in this space. And and I always go to Tony Sushi, which is next door. So I'm really happy to see that block transformed. And it really is going to be a resident type experience because now in Miami Beach, you kind of do have two experiences. You have the tourist trap style experience and then places that locals frequent. And I know that Wanderlust is going to be a huge success. But now you have Wanderlust on that block, Tony Sushi, and there's a great ice cream place next to Tony Sushi. Do you ever go there? It's like frozen and they roll it.
People watching were getting tips. I haven't even been there yet.
So yeah, so it's great. And Lincoln Road is getting all sorts of new places too. They're getting this restaurant called Negroni. I believe we're getting a Daniel Boulud restaurant in this space where Chotomate, there's a new restaurant opening there. And I'm not sure what concept that is, but also where Yard House is. There's like a new upscale Lebanese possibly style restaurant, like a mall, I believe, which is Lebanese or Mediterranean that's coming. So we're getting a bunch of new concepts and things are getting better, but it's just not cool. I agree with a lot of people that it's not known as being cool, but people do come. There's only one Joe's. Okay,
There's
only
Joe's.
one Carbone in Miami Beach.
That
There's
is
only
true.
one Mila.
One of the complaints I've heard from people is that our current mayor is anti-business. I hear this, that he doesn't support small business. And I'm glad to hear your comments about recognizing the importance because a city without a successful commercial corridor doesn't work.
That really needs to be the focus. If and when I win this mayoral campaign, that is going to be my focus, fixing the commercial corridors on Collins, Ocean, Washington, and Lincoln, and recreating a city center that was once vibrant and is now vacant and sometimes depressing when you walk through. And one of the reasons is that people can't seem to get their businesses open. It's taking people 2 years to open a restaurant on Miami Beach. It's too long. And somebody just called me with the permitting process. The owners of Majorica Pearls, They opened a pop-up on Lincoln Road and they did one in Aventura. They said that in 10 days in Aventura, they got their permits to open the business, and it took a month and a half in Miami Beach to get the same permits. And I want to understand why. And it's very hard to get answers from our administration, but it's just not prioritized right now. The mayor really doesn't care. He actually ruined an investment. We had a $3 million investment from a company called Geski, which was this cool, innovative German technology store. And they were opening their flagship store on Miami Beach, but they needed a code amendment. And they tortured everybody. And even though we passed the code amendment, after the entire experience, the man said, I don't want to invest my money on Miami Beach because they're not even business friendly.
That's terrible.
Terrible mayor.
Is this the item? Correct me if I'm wrong. I felt you were being attacked on social media by claiming you had some kind of an adult toy at the meeting.
Yes, 20% of the store was personal massagers. That's what we're calling them. And it was so narrow-minded and frankly old-fashioned to fight this $3 million investment. And most of the products were kind of like massagers for your face or like hair caps with lasers. It would have been a reason for people to come back to Lincoln Road if you wanted to pick up a gift, because a lot of people aren't shopping there right now. And so it was very frustrating to see a mayor who just doesn't get it. He doesn't understand. I don't think he's widely traveled. His only ideas about economic development were a Ferris wheel for Ocean Drive and a miniature golf, which the entire commission and community said, no, thank you.
Okay. Another view I have of some members of the commission and the mayor is we have a real concern, the LGBTQ community. You know, Miami Beach was really always the leader in LGBTQ rights. We had such a vibrant scene. And other than a couple of choice spots like Twist and the Palace, there's really not a lot to do. And a lot of members are leaving. They feel that it's too expensive and that the city does not support us in the way it used to. What would you say to them?
I would tell you that among all of our businesses, the only ones that are truly thriving right now, that we have super ultra luxury high-end places that are doing very well, but amongst the regular businesses, the gay businesses are doing better than anyone else. The Palace isn't having a problem. Twist isn't. We have Stefan Jinez at the Gathering. Nathan's is reopening now. So I think we do Wanderlust. We do have a vibrant LGBTQ community, and I do worry sometimes that if I were not there on the dais pushing back on a few conservative people on the commission, that we would have a problem with some of our human rights and the way we treat the LGBTQ community, especially gay pride and the money that we fund our gay pride, which is a huge event. Everyone from South Florida, people from around the country come to gay pride.
It's the regional South Florida event. I mean, I'm proud that started in 2009 under our first and to date only female mayor, Maddie Bauer, looking to have a new female mayor soon. Okay, a point I want to talk to you about, because people mention it to me. The current mayor has self-proclaimed himself to be like this law and order candidate, yet he was not endorsed by our police in his election. And the only thing that I can really see as a beach resident is that there's now a zillion police cars, like 10 or 12 along 41st Street every day, sitting there, really doing nothing except slowing down traffic and costing the city millions of dollars in overtime. I actually think that the entire commission is concerned about law and order and crime. How would you respond to that?
Well, the worst is that we actually do see a reduction in nonviolent crime, but aggravated assaults are up by 10%. When the rest of the country is seeing numbers that violent crime is down by 5 to 10%, in Miami Beach, it's up 10%. But the funny part is that he got all of these statistics and he cherry picked which ones that he liked. And so he painted this rosy picture. I mean, there's been no change in rapes, and we have a huge proliferation of homeless people now because of the homeless shelter on West Avenue, and 44% of our crimes are being committed by the homeless. And he did not have the courage to go to the county, work something out so that we didn't have the homeless shelter. If I would have been mayor, I would have gone over to that homeless shelter and turned off the water and said, take us to court, because you are not operating as a as a hostel. You are operating as a homeless shelter. And I do think that a judge would have sided with the community. So he was completely against doing that. And instead, we've been having a lot more violent crime across Miami Beach. But he doesn't mention that. He says crime is down and revenue is great. No, it is not. Even though new hotels, when we talk about the budget, because of these, we have this situation of violent crime. And then our tourism tax revenue right now, we're down $1 million for this year. But if you factor in inflation and the fact that new hotels have come online, like Proper Hotels, Citizen M, and we're still in regression. And by the way, you can feel it in Miami Beach. Do you not feel that our streets are empty? Right?
Yeah, I do.
Restaurants empty.
It's slow.
It is slow in Miami Beach. And I don't know that it's going to get better right now. It really does depend on the economy. Are international tourists going to come here? Are they going to be charged $250 to come here? Our marketing could be a lot better. And he doesn't really focus on this. So he doesn't really care. It's law and order, except that crime is up.
See,
violent crime is up.
We're a brand at Miami Beach that's been created over many years. It took a long time to make Miami Beach exciting, to make it an area where people wanted to develop, to have the gay community come here, to have the arts community in Art Basel. We created things that made people want to live here. And now I'm concerned that a lot of people want to undo that. I also hear a lot about money. But when I started on the commission in 2006, I think our budget was a couple $100 million. It's now $1 billion, right? Or more than $1 billion.
Well, if you take into account capital projects and things like that, but our operating budget's around, $460 million, something like that. But then we have capital. We have all sorts of different budgets, as you know. And so our property values do increase every year. They were increasing by double digits. This year we had a 5.9% increase, but also our operating budget has swollen. But our tourism taxes are on the decline. And I do think that it's because this mayor does not understand hospitality, and he doesn't understand the importance of that hospitality industry, which is like $1 billion industry. And it really is like the hub of Miami Beach. It's one thing to say arts and culture. And I love the fact that we have Art Basel and that we have become this arts and cultural hub. But truthfully, apart from Art Basel, do people really come here for history and museums and arts and culture? Why do people come to Miami Beach, Michael?
People come primarily because of the beach.
They want to go to the beach. They want sun. They want fun. And what we want to do is elevate that experience for them so that people say, I'm going to Miami Beach because it can be like Saint-Tropez or some really fun Mykonos or some wonderful place around the world. And I know that we can elevate our beach experience. And I'm actually working on that. If we fix our commercial corridors, our beach experience, look, we'll have more money to clean the streets. Right now, we have no money in our budget for cleaning and operations equipment, no money in our budget to fix any of our facilities. It's really all going toward law and order. And the sad part about it is that violent crime is up. So I think that something is not quite right. And, I think I can fix it. It's not going to be easy. But I do think reallocation of police officers citywide is probably a smart idea. And also police morale. I think when the police feel like you have someone like the mayor who literally knocks on the cop car doors and is pressuring them, I think they don't really like that so much. And I don't think he has a great relationship with the police union either. So you want police morale to be positive so that the cops really do want to go out there and do their job. One thing I will say is we do support our police. I mean, law and order, safety and security, law and order, it's super important. And we did clean up the spring break situation, but it wasn't the mayor who did that. It was a marketing campaign, and it was Alina Hudak, who was our former city manager. And all of us, by the way, Alex Fernandez passed so many different laws and policies. We had to work to get to where we are right now for 10 years. And granted, we are experiencing vacancies, but I do think that once we are secure and safe, and the biggest problem that we have is the homeless population. Do you know why retail businesses don't want to open? Because they because of the homeless population.
I think it's that, and also the point you mentioned earlier, how expensive and time-consuming it is to get a permit. It's hard to do business, and then you open up, and they feel that the police aren't there, like protecting their business and keeping homeless people away.
Well, they look around and they say, okay, am I going to choose Brickell City Center or am I going to choose Aventura? You know, when you go to those places that you have a lot of, that you have a lot of traffic. But what you do have in Miami Beach, and especially on Lincoln Road, is this criminal, homeless population that comes into the businesses. They will steal right in front of you. They threaten or expose themselves to the shop owners, and we have not been able to get that under control. So, and we have laws to arrest the homeless, but I'm very happy because I believe Judge Leifman is going to open the Leifman Center, which is a solution for the homeless and a place for us to send them. Right now, we have a camping ordinance, and you're not supposed to be able to sleep on the streets. We come, offer you a bus ticket, offer you shelter, and if you refuse both of those, we have no place to send you except for jail. Mm-hmm. And that's very sad because they go to jail and they come right back out on the street.
Yeah, I've read the articles about how they're arrested, they're immediately released.
But now we're going to have a place to send them, which is this Leifman Center, which is a very compassionate, benign solution. And they get people to accept services. They have tattoo removal, dental, education, psychological. They even have a court inside so that homeless people could be Baker Acted if they actually needed to be mandated medicine. So solution.
You have a lot of experience, Kristen. I mean, of the 7 members of the commission, you are actually the one that has served the longest there. So you are the experienced veteran member, not the oldest, but certainly the most experienced. What have you learned over your 2 terms on the city commission?
To compromise, get along with people, listen, be understanding. Seriously, listen to your colleagues and be open to new ideas. Also, to not just say no to people, because if you do nothing, you really are going to get nothing. But if you are creative and you sit down with people and you compromise, you can craft something that makes sense for everyone. So I think it's a more mellow, more diplomatic me. I also understand the power of team building. Right now, we have a commission, everybody's attacking each other. We're all focused in different directions. I would like for us to be a body of not just legislators, but actual friends, united, people who understand each other and see the fact that we're neighbors. That's the one thing that bothers me so much. We get so crazily divided. And I'm like, guys, we have so much more in common than not. And we do. And every single member of the commission works really hard. And I think I have a pretty good relationship with every single person on the dais.
So you're a unifier. What other things would you tell people make you the best choice for mayor?
Apart from my historical knowledge, institutional knowledge, I will be able to fix these commercial corridors. We have to build an economic development team. We cannot allow Miami Beach to go into a depression because it will make it very expensive to live on Miami Beach. And we're too important of an international brand to allow this to continue to happen. And even though we will we do embrace arts and culture and health and wellness, the truth of the matter is that people are coming to Miami Beach because they want sun and fun, and I don't like the vilification of nightlife. And we do have to talk to our police officers about, I'm going to walk up and down certain areas where there are homeless, and people are probably going to say to me, well, why haven't you done that right now? Because really, I think in order to have that vision, you have to be mayor to set the agenda. Because I do feel like the chief of police and the city manager listen to the mayor more than they listen to the commissioners. As a commissioner, you're just kind of banging the drum and making some noise. As a mayor, you're leading people in the right direction. And I think that my vision for Miami Beach is going to be way more profitable, way more sophisticated, make our residents much happier than any vision that the current mayor, Stephen Miner, has, which really is no vision. What is his vision?
He's the law and order candidate. He says it in every email.
Failed on that. I mean, it's a law and order candidate. There you go.
All right.
No law and order.
So we have Kristen Rosen Gonzalez, a South Florida native, a mother, a Miami-Dade College professor, a doctor, and a veteran commissioner running for mayor this November in the Miami Beach election. Even for those of you that don't live in Miami Beach, what happens in Miami Beach impacts all of our community. Before we sign off, Kristen, how do people learn more about you or get in touch with you about your campaign?
You can follow me on Instagram at rosengonzalez.com. My website is KRG for Miami Beach. And yeah, you could just Google me. My phone number, 305-965-4725. I always give out my personal cell phone.
Look at that, people. 305-965-4725. A candidate who's willing to give her personal cell phone to the people. Kristen Rosen Gonzalez, the people's choice. Until next month, when we're back with a new voice of Miami Beach, we wish you a fantastic